Hi everybody, I'm Andres.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Abe.
And this is Between Two Stands, a classical musicians podcast about classical music. And we have a great interview with pianist Alexandra Dariescu.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, amazing.
She's very cool.
She's great.
Very charismatic. And actually, I have compiled a game-like thing. It's not quite a game. No one wins, so luckily Abe can't lose.
Our listeners are on the edge of their seats.
Yeah.
A game-like thing. This is why I tune in.
Yeah. Abe can't lose, so I did.
And I'll find a way.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
You decide this to not hurt Abe.
Yeah, hurt Abe's feeling. Yeah. But in our interview, we talked about we had mentioned how certain composers or pieces that we know and love in our household names now weren't always that way back in the day. You know,
right.
like critics or even musicians that were in attendance for premieres just didn't like famous pieces. Rite of Spring was the most famous example.
Yeah. Riots after that.
Yeah, Riots.
But then the next time it was performed, I think, was in London, and standing ovation. I think like one more performance had a completely different reaction.
Yeah.
Which, who knows?
Maybe the riots help with that. Who knows? You know?
Yeah, like the French rioted. We're gonna love this.
Yeah. Exactly. But anyway, I came up with this game that it's called the Test of Time. I named it the Test of Time, and basically these are quotes about pieces or composers, and I'm going to ask you guys to say if you feel like they're true or false, and why, and if these comments stood the test of time. Okay. So Bizet's Carmen. The quote is, "It's often dull and obscure." What do you think of that? Do you agree or disagree?
Wait, we're agreeing or disagreeing, or we're asking whether or not that's true? That was like an actual quote from a critic.
These are all actual quotes.
Okay.
These are all actual quotes.
He really
wants
to
the
lose
game.
again.
He wants the game. I want to know. I want to know what you guys think, and then if it actually still, if you feel like it still holds true today.
That's a very real quote that we can either agree with or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. He can lose.
I can. I'll find a way. I promise. I don't know. What do you think, Carmen?
I mean, it's not obscure anymore.
Yeah.
It's probably
It is 3 hours long though, isn't it?
I mean, it's
like
I'm trying to think of a more famous French opera.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not obscure. It's not dull
Yeah,
either.
yeah,
I
right.
just disagree.
There's so such famous moments, that we all.
You could whistle.
All
the tunes home,
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
I can't whistle.
Okay. So unanimous disagree.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, some of the classics are classics for a reason.
Yeah.
And this guy just didn't like it. He wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
Or she.
Okay, this is about Sibelius Violin Concerto. Far too complex, far too busy, dark and dingy.
I don't know. I mean, maybe upon a first listen, but then after listening to it and performing it a bunch, I like it. I disagree.
Yeah, you disagree.
I kind of agree. See, I like the piece. I think it's good. I think that this person obviously didn't, but there's some parts of it where the horns are just playing along. You got 4 horns playing with this violin solo, and we're supposed to be as soft as we can possibly be, and it's a horn.
It's not
It's
orchestrated.
like kind of written in a way that I think is gonna sound sort of muddled, and it's gonna sound maybe less crispy.
Maybe Sibelius was ahead of his time. About
probably.
He was asking.
He was asking for the future technique and not for the current.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the melodies. I think it's nice, but I can see why it would be busy.
Yeah. Funny story, real quick. My first year in the orchestra, my bow exploded when we were playing it on the webcast. So if you go back to that webcast,
that's worth listening to on.
We might have already even talked about it.
You did it on purpose, didn't you? because it was too busy.
Exactly.
And obscure.
Yeah.
This
I went to go pull the bow and it was like across the. Yeah, it was great.
So whether or not you agree or disagree, this is one of my favorite quotes. So this is about Schoenberg's Verklärte and someone said, "It sounds as if someone had smeared the score of Tristan while it was still wet." So whether or not you know that piece, what about just Schoenberg in general?
I mean, that's probably the most famous piece by Schoenberg.
Yeah,
that's just a great quote.
Yeah. it's so you can just see it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty true.
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to the point where, and that's early. That's not as abstract as Schoenberg got. So like, it definitely sounds like dark and depressing. I can see the Tristan influence, but
it's rough. Even to this day, it's
hard to play too. I mean, like as a string player, it's one of my favorite chamber music pieces. And it's also scored for string orchestra. Mm-hmm. It's a hard piece to play, and I feel like
is it quartet or sextet?
Sextet.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like a really successful performance needs a lot of time, right, to rehearse and details and stuff, and I think probably most performances of it doesn't allow for that rehearsal time, you know.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But man, that 12-tone language it's gonna sound schmeared.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Wet schmeared. This is another funny one. Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1.
She talked about it.
Yep. These actually next two she talked about.
Yeah.
Tchaikovsky's first piano concerto, like the first pancake, is a flop.
Oh.
Is it because the pan's not warm enough yet? Is that what the...
maybe. Don't read too into the pancake part.
There's a great
still delicious,
Monty Python sketch where this magician or something, they're playing Tchaikovsky's first piano concerto in the background, and at the piano there's a sack. It's like a man in a sack escaping as he performs, and he's just like pounding the.
Oh yeah.
Because the beginning is like this, and I can't help but think about that every time. So it is a flop
every time. Every time you play it, are you just like laughing in the back?
Like, I kind of am. It's like playing Barbara Seville. I'm thinking of Bugs Bunny. Like I can't help it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's definitely not a flop, right?
You think it's a flop, but then you play the second or third piano concertos by Tchaikovsky, which aren't often done, and then you're like, oh, the first one's really good.
Yeah.
I disagree.
You disagree, yeah. Well, and then I'll end it with this because we mentioned this, and I think we'll all disagree on this, but this is Beethoven's Ninth, which is obviously doing pretty well in terms of standing the test of time. But they said, a frightful period indeed, which puts the muscles and lungs of the band and the patience of the audience to a severe trial.
That sounds like somebody who left before it was over.
Yeah.
Like,
are you listening to like the wind band arrangement of it?
But it's just
that
crazy.
Whole piece is all about like the choir coming in and sort of making everything right after this turmoil of the first.
Maybe they fell asleep and they had to write something.
I mean, they had a deadline.
But that's an interesting, it's an interesting thing that like with music being written now, we couldn't imagine someone saying that about Beethoven 9 then, or now, but now if we hear new music, we can get put off, even us, so it's it's just a lesson to kind of have a open ear, an open mind.
We could be very wrong right now about the way we think about new pieces.
Yeah.
Nothing makes me happier than honest feedback, though. Like, I would so much rather, like, somebody say, oh, yeah, Beethoven 9.
Not gonna.
And then I'll be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But I'll know what they think, and I kind of appreciate that in a way that I think is
this
better.
critic went for it. You got to give him credit.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've talked to some fellow musicians where they're like, Mahler could really use some cuts. It's long. I'm like, what would you cut?
It took a really long time to say not a lot of things.
That's a famous Bruckner quote, isn't it?
Maybe. Well, Bruckner certainly took that on too.
Oh
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
It's beautiful music, though.
it is.
You
It
know,
is.
some amazingly magical moments.
And now all the listeners know what we think.
I know.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Come here, $1.09.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
happening.
I'm excited about that.
I'll just do a quick bonus one. Puccini's La Boheme will leave no great trace upon the history of our lyric theater, which I think inherently is false, which is hilarious.
Wait, who?
Puccini? Oh yeah, I get it. Anyway, thank you guys. Abe, you won and lost. Scott, you won and lost.
I think we all lost.
But anyway, here's our interview with Alexandra Dariescu. Welcome, Alexandra. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Hi, guys.
Hello. So we always start the same way with the same question for every guest, and we're really happy that you're here. But that question is, what is on your stand right now? So in other words, like, what are you working on? What are you practicing or preparing for?
I'm actually in Indianapolis at the moment, and I've got 3 concerts with Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. It's my debut with them, so it's really nice to be in the States and then coming straight to see you guys.
Yeah, we can't wait. What are you playing in Indianapolis? Is it the same piece?
No. Well, every week there's a different piece. So it's the manicness and the joys of being a musician and a touring soloist. No, I'm doing Nadia Boulanger, Fantasy for Piano and Orchestra. And it's only the second time when it's been performed in the US, because I brought it to Houston Symphony a couple of years ago, and that was the US premiere.
Wow.
And it's unreal because the fantasy was written in 1912, so more than 100 years ago. And Nadia Boulanger was such an incredible figure, especially in the States. She was the first woman to conduct the New York Phil and the Boston Symphony. Yeah. And just so thrilled to be bringing it here. We've done the first concert and it went really, really well. The audience just went wild.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, I think she had that quote of like, I too am, it's like, no, I'm no longer surprised that I'm actually a woman. It was like I think when she was conducting the Boston Symphony, there's a quote where like,
because everyone's so surprised
at the time, like being the first, I think that there were, the issues that we all know of.
Right.
But that was like her quote. She's like, yeah, I'm no longer surprised by this fact.
And there's a really cool thing as well. When she was leading the New York Phil, the leader gave her quite a hard time. And she was like, gentlemen, let's focus on the music. That's what we're here for. And it was quite a nice way to just get in there and sort of focus on the important things. Yeah.
I know that she was very influential as a teacher too. Like she like composition teacher. I know that she's widely influential in that way too. So she's very much touched people's lives.
Who of all the composers at the time worked with her. It's kind of amazing.
Well, she taught Copland and Barenboim and Dino Lipati and Quincy Jones and so many others. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's exciting. So we're really looking forward to having you here and having you play with us. And the piece is Shades of Unbroken Dreams. Did I get that right?
You did.
Yes.
I'm
looking at the music. I didn't look at it. But can you tell us?
Look at this.
Oh, there
very
it is.
Nice.
Yay!
So
I know.
what is like your process of learning the piece and what can you tell someone who will be listening to it for the first time? What can you kind of bring out of that piece to listen for?
Well, it's just an enormous privilege to have a piano concerto written for me. So I'm just hugely grateful to James Lee III and also to Detroit Symphony who commissioned this piece. And then we got BBC Philharmonic on board as well. So we'll be doing the UK premiere a couple of weeks afterwards. But no, this concerto is really, really special because it's written on the 60th anniversary of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And very much tackles the social justice theme. And James and I bonded actually in Detroit where we met. I was performing with you guys a couple of years ago. We were doing Clara Schumann and Georgi Enescu concerto, and his piece was being performed. I think it was American.
That's right.
we started chatting over dinner, and I think we bonded over our shared values and beliefs about promoting equality and diversity in classical music. And then Detroit Symphony said, why don't we commission a piano concerto and let's see how that's going to go. So it's been a really beautiful process, an exciting one, because over the last couple of years, I've been in touch with James, sort of kind of on a weekly basis or so. And we were talking about how the concerto should be, in what direction it should be going, how long. It started with 15-20 minutes, and now it's a 35-minute piece. And I'm not going to lie, it's quite a tour de force. And it's written in... I know. I just can't wait to put it all together. But it's... No, it's thrilling, and when I finally got the music, and especially to have it like this, and it's got the dedication inside, and it's just so special.
Is that the first time that you've ever done something like that before? Or
I've had a few pieces written for me. Actually, piano concerti. I think this is the third one, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow! Okay.
No, fourth one. Yes.
And are you pretty involved in the compositional aspect of it, or is there like a back and forth between you and the composer a lot, or do you give any of your ideas?
Very few. I really can't take any credit. I mean, James really went for it, but we spoke a lot about what the concerto should represent and the theme behind it and the storyline, which is so important. And in the end, it ended up being a 3-movement concerto, so it's very much sort of fast, slow, fast. But the really beautiful things is that James uses quotes from the actual speech, from the I Have a Dream speech. So there's no words involved, but the rhythm of the speech is in there. So, for example, I have a dream, and let freedom ring, freedom. And there's a lot of like really cool rhythms that they're just very catchy and exciting. And I've done it with the second piano, so with the orchestral reduction for another piano, and it's just so thrilling. I mean, I think it's just very special because each of us grows up having a dream, whatever that may be. And some of us are really lucky enough to get to live that dream, and I am one of those people included. But others, so I think it would be really nice to have a little campaign and ask some of the musicians, some of you guys, and some of the audience members, like what's their dream, especially now in 2023. And I think this piece is very much reflecting on how much has it changed for the last 60 years, in terms of equality, diversity, and inclusion. I think we're all trying to do a lot more, and I think you'll all agree that there is a lot more space to do more.
Yes.
Yes.
The conversations are just starting, it feels like, about that.
Yeah.
But we're really excited to play it. That's going to be very fun.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait just to see everything put together, and I definitely think that you're right. We should talk to different musicians about the kinds of dreams that they had, whether that and also how that blends in with the theme of this piece. That would be kind of great to to see in terms of like the musician aspect. But to get you here, having four concertos written for you, to have the piece like this that you've been such an integral part of, what brought you here? Like you said that you're living your dreams. Was it always the case that you wanted to do this, or like how long and how did you prepare to get where you are now?
I mean, I've literally only had one dream, to become a concert pianist and travel around the world. And I think I was a very
No, it's to travel to Detroit, right? That's what it was.
Well, of course. Absolutely.
She did that last year.
Absolutely.
I know. I'm just saying. You're at the top now.
No, but I think I was a very fortunate kid, to sort of know what I wanted from an early age. And I had a very encouraging family, and I worked really hard. I think the secret in anything is, apart from practice, it's a lot of perseverance and determination. And Not necessarily knowing where I want to go, because it was all based on intuition, and all the decisions that I made, there was sort of like my gut instinct said, okay, let's go there and study there. And but I remember there's a beautiful story. I was only 9 when I had my concerto debut, and that's quite an early age to do that. And I only started playing the piano when I was 7, so it all came really, really quickly. And I went on stage, and of course the orchestra was full of adults, and I was the only child, and I tripped when I came in, and the music stands were flying, and the sheet music was everywhere. Yeah. And the conductor behind me was like, oh gosh, and my mom in the front row going like, oh dear me, that's the end of it. And I think that's just such a life lesson, and it's a defining moment, because you either start crying and you give up, or you pick yourself up and you keep going. And that's what I did. And there's a little YouTube clip, not with me falling over, but of me playing age 9 with the orchestra. And I came out, it was just that thrill to be surrounded by musicians and do this amazing concert. And I came out and I said to my mom and my piano teacher that I want to become a concert pianist. And I don't come from a musical family or anything, so I had no idea what it entailed, or how much hard work or sacrifices you need to do along the way. But it's an incredible thing, like after all of these years, I really get to live that dream and travel somewhere else every week. Sadly, with a completely different piece, which is not so easy sometimes.
So when you go from orchestra to orchestra, are you still playing a different piece every week, or are you able to recycle repertoire at this point?
If I can, that's a really nice thing, but of course you come back to it, every 2 years or 3 years or something, it just depends on the season. As you know, like sometimes you can say, oh, I would like to play this, and then the promoter and the orchestra will take it, but it's a negotiation. And but most of the times when I'm on tour, it's different pieces. I mean, it's exciting at the same time, and it's never boring, but it's sort of like living on the edge.
Yeah.
So how do you keep up with the active schedule of, okay, you're playing this piece and rehearsing and performing, and then like how far in advance are you practicing for each week?
So I think it's all about preparation. So in the summer I had 2 months without any concerts whatsoever, because I had 3 new concertos to learn. And
that still doesn't seem like enough time.
I know, no, it's never enough, but I think it's just about preparation. And I've got this thing that it's at least 6 months in advance that I look on the repertoire that's going to happen, and I just try to be really, really organized and structured in my practicing. I'm not one of those people that just sits there for 12 hours just daydreaming. No, I'm quite practical when I practice, and just have a little to-do list and just focus on the important stuff. And but I think it's to do with routine, and we're very much like athletes, like you just have to have a really good mindset and concentration, and just be very organized with your time.
Makes a lot of sense.
I have kind of a silly question for you though about all this. So you're living your dream, you're preparing 6 months out. Are there any pieces that you get to and you're just like, I really don't want to play this piece?
I think I got to that point that I do choose. So I started saying no to things as well.
Okay.
As a young artist, when the phone rings, you just have to say, yes, I know everything. They're like, do you know so-and-so piece? And you're like, yes, I do. Right. But I think the older or the more mature I get, or the more experience I get, I have to say no as well.
Are there any specifics? Can you give us specifics on something that you would say no? I mean, the only reason I think we like questions like this, because a lot of times I think an audience member might be afraid to be wrong about their own taste. And so they'll say, oh, I didn't like that, but everybody's telling me what a masterpiece it is, so I guess that I must be wrong. Yeah. And of course, that's not the case, and we all have our own taste. And as a horn player, I have horn concertos that I just don't ever want to listen to again, even though I know they might be better. Of course, he's a cellist. What are you going to do? but from your perspective, is there one that you could be? I don't ever need to play that again for any reason. You don't have to say it if you don't
No,
want to.
no. I mean, not specifically, but I think in general for an audience member, it's really important to know the context that the piece was written in, and especially if it's a new piece. For example, with James Lee III, they will only be hearing it once. And it's really difficult to judge a piece. Like, think about in Beethoven's time. Some audience members hated his music because they thought he was too avant-garde and too adventurous and all of that. And Tchaikovsky, when he wrote his first piano concerto that now is such a beloved piece and everyone adores it and it's programmed every season everywhere, Anton Rubinstein, who saw the music, he said it's rubbish, put it in the bin. And it's so interesting how people perceive a piece. And I think especially with contemporary music or with neglected composers, be it male, female, doesn't matter, but it's very much about listening to it a few times to get to know it and to love it, with Rag 2, Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto that everyone adores. Why was it so popular? Because Rachmaninoff toured the entire world with it, because it was used in so many films like Brief Encounter and you name it. And it's that familiarity that you get with a certain piece, and then you recognize it and you think, oh yes, I know that, I like that. So I think it's just so important. That's why I'm so excited with this concerto and with you guys. We're doing 3 concerts, and one of them is going to be on DSO Live, so people can go back and listen to it and read the program notes and have a little look on social media, because James and I have done so many little interviews and trying to talk about the piece and getting the audience on this journey with us. I think that's so important, to know the context and everything else around that specific piece. So then the more information you have, the better you understand it.
That's what we've noticed, especially like when we do this show. It's been really interesting to talk to performers such as yourself or composers and say, what can we expect from this? And it's interesting to even for musicians to go into it being like, oh, I remember they talked about this, or that was the theme that he mentioned, or it just makes you feel a little bit more familiar with the piece, even though you've never heard it before. So that's why doing this stuff is great for us, and hopefully for the people listening. So so actually, speaking of that, what, like you mentioned, saying like the words of the "I Had a Dream" speech, but is there anything else maybe about you, the part that you're playing, that you find to be special or unique, or something that you can kind of extract to explain for an audience member that might be coming to the show for the first time?
Yeah, so the piano part is incredibly virtuosic. I mean, James pulled all the stops. He was like, right, Alex, I'm going to give you something that, it'll definitely keep me entertained. It's a tour de force, the whole piece. The cadenza in the first movement. So the cadenza is the solo bit that is just piano solo, and literally, I think it's about 5 minutes long or something. It's intense, it's big, it's monumental. It starts from nothing and it builds to this huge thing that you just want to hug the world. And then the orchestra comes in, and it's very much a dialogue between the piano and the orchestra. It's a battle sometimes. In the third movement, there's so many rhythm changes, and that's what makes it so exciting. And James uses a lot of percussion instruments, so it's just so exciting, and it makes you want to, you can't just sit back and think, oh, this is just lovely music. No, it's music with meaning. It's music that captures you, and it's thrilling, really.
That's awesome.
Really exciting.
Yeah.
But this is so kind of perfect as an example. We're talking about hearing a new piece for the first time, and so often I am listening, and if there's one thing that hooks me into the piece, if there's one thing that I really like, I can look forward to that one thing in the next listen, and then use that to sort of build the rest of the scope. And so it really only takes a moment of emotional connection, and then it's like the piece is well worth it.
Right.
And usually there's plenty.
And usually you start finding other moments too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
And there's also this amazing thing that we have the composer with us.
Yeah, right.
So, like it's absolutely amazing, because I'm sure there will be a few things changed and a few things adapted, edited, whatever. And it's just extraordinary to be on that journey and sort of ask him, well, what about this? What about that? Because I don't know how it's going to sound with the orchestra. This is the scary bit. It's frightening. I'm not going to lie, but it's, of course, very thrilling to get that when we all put it together. But it'll be really nice to have him there and to see what he thinks of it. Because if you think of all the other composers that we play, we can't really email Ravel or anything like that.
Yeah, he never got back to me. It's weird. But,
I know. Well,
I don't think he likes you.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. Yeah.
One weird thing, Jerry Seinfeld in his interviews sometimes will ask if anybody has a question for him, and I sometimes I like to use that here. So as a concert pianist, touring and everything, do you have any questions for members of the orchestra that are often backing you up? A horn, cello, percussion.
Did you know about this?
No. Curveball.
Curveball.
You got to know.
Okay.
Any questions for us?
what do you guys like when a soloist comes in? What are the things that you appreciate in a soloist?
Actually, it's funny you say that. The first thing that comes to mind, I mean, and if you don't do that, it's totally cool. But it's always, I like pressure. I like when, it's always interesting when someone, a soloist does an encore that's different every night. Because, you know, it kind of gives us a little, a little mini concert, that's unique, you know. So I always thought that was pretty cool. You have 4 concertos that you're learning, so no pressure. But I always found that to be kind of a fun thing, because it's new for us too, because we played three shows. So yeah.
I actually always do different encores, but
really?
that's interesting to say. Yeah. And
Awesome.
last time when I was with you guys, the last night was Halloween. So I went backstage and I had this amazing mask. I actually have a photo of it. And I put on the mask. But the thing is, it was so tight in terms of timing to tie this mask. Oh, I can show you a picture now. Oh, there it is.
That is an incredible shot.
Yeah,
that's great.
That looks so cool.
No, that was after the concert. Anyhow, so I came in and I played Florence Price, the Goblin and the Mosquito, because I thought that would be a cool thing for Halloween.
Yeah.
And then this mask, I'm not kidding, because the piece is only 1 minute long, but it's got lots of glissandi and all over the keyboard and everything. And the mask kept going lower and lower. And I kept sort of tried to put my nose up, and it was just a nightmare. The piece went brilliantly. No one could have ever known that this was happening. But yeah, so
bring back the mask. Bring back the mask.
Do you want to answer the question?
Oh yeah, sure. You've been here before, so we've heard you, and I love your sound, but the first thing that I listen for is sort of the quality and the meaning of the sound that a soloist gives to a piece. And I just remember the Schumann was incredible last season. So, yeah.
That's very kind. Thank you.
For me, it's the spontaneity. So you can. Sometimes a soloist has learned how they think the piece should go, and they're going to perform it that way no matter where they go. And that's admirable in a way of having convictions about the piece and everything else. But you can also adapt to what the musicians behind you are doing, and there can be these moments of connection. And that's always a lot of fun that I think that's really fun.
Yeah.
So that's...
Especially when there's 3 performances, because...
Right.
I don't know, usually it's by the third one, everyone knows it so well and they're so free. And that's the beauty of music, that you have so much freedom. And it's very much like chamber music, and you react to what the colleagues do on stage. And then you try to do it not too differently. If it's Andante, you play Presto, that's not going to be fun for anyone. But sort of keeping the conductor on their toes as well, that's always fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that covers it for me.
Yeah.
Really appreciate talking to you, and very much looking forward playing your guys' piece coming up. You know, it'll be really fun.
It's going to be great to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you
It'll
so
be
much.
wonderful. I'm so grateful, and thanks so much for having me on your show. That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
Of course.
Of course.
Thank
of course.
you.
See you soon.
See you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
That was Between Two Stands. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
We're just waiting for one of us to talk. I was hoping you would talk. We would be waiting for a while.